Okay, you join me in my kitchen because I think I'm about to do a very stupid thing. It is currently 9:30 at night. You can't see that, but trust me, it's exactly 9:33 and 14 seconds. And I am going to do a 24-hour readathon. Have I prepped for this? No. Have I been busy all day? Yes. But Oliver and I were just in the pub talking about how scared we are about the fact that when uni starts again, which is very, very soon, we're going to have to read all the uni texts and therefore have very little time to read our own texts. So I'm going to settle in for 24 hours and I'm going to try and get as much read as possible. And I'm not the fastest reader, so this is going to be very, very interesting. Pray for me. I'm in the kitchen because I'm going to make myself a coffee and then I'll meet you back in my room and we'll see how this goes. Fingers crossed I don't pass out or something. I don't know. Now, I know what you're thinking. Erica, this is dumb. This is stupid. You literally just said yourself you're not prepared. And I'm not. I've been busy all day. I'm actually tired. I can feel tiredness in my eyes. My eye bags are gonna get bigger, but it's fine because it's worth it. It's gonna benefit me because I'm gonna be doing what I wanna do, which is read. The books I'm gonna read. I forgot. I've got to actually tell you what books I'm gonna read. So here's my pile of books. Obviously, I'm not going to get through all these, but we're gonna try and get through as many as possible. And I've tried to pick shorter ones because then I might stay engaged. So we've got The Winter King, and this looks Mahoso, but I've only got 100 pages left. And God, I'm so excited for this book. I'm so excited to finish this book. I'm so excited to read the second one. It's gonna be ages till I read the second one, but I'm gonna have this one finished. I started this. So again, it's already short and it's going to be even shorter because I've already started it. It's Nietzsche's Why I Am So Clever. Killing Jericho is probably going to be one of the first few that I read because I've started it and I'm loving it, and it's William Hussey, and everyone knows if you follow the podcast how much I love William Hussey. So we're going to finish this today. Oliver said to me, oh, if you do a 24-hour readathon, isn't the whole point of it that you like can fall asleep, but it's how much you read in those 24 hours? And I was like, sure, that's the rules I'm going to go by, but I'll see you maybe in an hour. It's 9:51. So let's go get this started. Okay, so I'm like 11 pages in from where I was on A Winter King. And I'm already annoyed in the least spoiler way possible. Obviously, this book focuses very heavily on like truthful Arthurian legend rather than making us view the characters in like this all perfect light. It does stick to like a lot of things that happened in the original legends, such as Guinevere and Lancelot's affair. Oh my god, I'm getting annoyed. I know it's coming. I knew it was coming anyway, but the only thing that's annoying me, this whole book is about how Arthur, following the death of Uhtred? Oh my god, wrong Bernard Cornwell series. How Arthur, following the death of Uther, is like trying to keep the kingdom intact so that then Mordred can like seek power. And he was supposed to get betrothed to this woman called Cynwyn, who's like a slay queen, who's supposed to marry her, but instead he like threw that away to marry Guinevere. No one's really shocked by this information because that's how most stories with Arthur go. But what is annoying to me is that we are literally at war. We are in a failing war because Arthur has married this woman, and then this woman's like, so Duffel, what do you think about Lancelot? And the thing that annoys me the most is that this book is portraying Lancelot as a prick. Like, Lancelot is not a good person in this book he's not likable at any point so far. So not only is she gonna cheat on Arthur, who is literally like fighting a whole war so he could marry her, she's cheating on him with like the least likable character in the whole book. Oh, Bernard, why are you doing this to me, bro?
Oh my god, what is that?
That was horrifying. As you can see, it's been an hour. I don't have a lot to say, actually. I'm starting to realise that I might be a slow reader. It might actually just be because I'm quite tired. But I've only read about 30-something pages. But also I've been, like, filming, like, B-roll and stuff. So, really, I've not been reading for an hour, technically. But For the sake of my sanity, I've been reading for an hour. First of all, this book is great. Second of all, I just read like the creepiest section I've ever read. I was mildly horrified, and to be honest, my music didn't help, but it was great. Just went for a whole Isle of Dead moment. And one thing I will say about this book is my favourite thing about The Last Kingdom, the TV show, I haven't read the books, the relationships between the characters, like the characters themselves. And I was really struggling with this book because like for the first 200 pages, you didn't really settle with any characters except from like Arthur and I suppose Durfal a bit because he's the main character, but except from like Arthur and Guinevere. And I'm just not really a big fan of Guinevere or Arthur in this. They're not great. But I was really struggling because there just wasn't really characters I was connecting to. And then Galahad got introduced. One of my friends studies classics at uni. She messaged me not that long ago being like, wow, I really love Galahad. And I was like, real. So safe to say I was quite happy when he got introduced. But I was even more happy when he got introduced as a likeable and interesting character. And his relationship with Durfal is like my favourite thing from this book so far. Like their bromance is literally the cutest thing ever. And Durfal's just gone on like this whole thing to the Isle of Dead where no one thought he was going to return, but Galahad was like waiting for him and he went searching for him, and like it literally says this is so cute. I should have known you would be here, I told him. Yes, he said, you should. There were tears in his eyes, tears of happiness. Oh, romance. Love me a good cheeky little medieval historical fantasy sort of fiction with some good bromance. Like if that isn't Lord of the Rings summed up, Lord of the Rings is just a lad's holiday. I'm getting lad's holiday from Galahad and Durfal interactions and I'm loving it. Just soft masculinity is like my favourite thing. I suppose in the context of like knights and stuff, like it shines even brighter, but bloody hell, Galahad and Durfal is like my go-to bromance. If there's no fan fiction out there, I'm going to be disappointed, guys. So people get on reading this book and go write me some fan fiction, please. Because I'm going to not stop thinking about them and I need it in my life. They're like the Winter King's version of Finan and Uhtred. There you go. If anyone's interested, definitely read this book, and especially for them. Hour number 2. I made it. I'm still awake, although I can feel the tiredness settling into my eyes. Mother, I can feel the soil falling over my head. Anyway, not much to say, and yet I probably will say a lot. I'm on page 373 out of like 488. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did only think I had 100 pages of this book left, but apparently it says I have 200. So I'm a fool. One thing I really like about this book is its handling of destiny, the uncertainty that accompanies such a certain fate, which is really, really interesting because it's a complete paradox. But I think the thing that's always been interesting about Arthur, and particularly like his story, is that it is so hell-bent on destiny. And as a BBC Merlin girl, I also think BBC Merlin handles that pretty well from Merlin's point of view, but Arthur's point of view is really explored in this book, as he's sort of more central at the minute anyway than Merlin. And I said earlier on that I'm not the biggest fan of Arthur in this book, and upon reflection I think I'm a liar. He's not awful, you know, he's not fantabulous, he's no BBC Merlin Arthur, but you know, he's trying his hardest. He's just a little bit lost. Earlier on he was sort of experiencing some level of doubt, and like this part of the book is actually exploring Arthur's doubt of his own destiny and what he wants and how he's trying to achieve that and failing to. I wanted to do such great things, Durfal, he said, such great things, and in the end it was I who betrayed them, wasn't it? No, Lord, I said firmly. Friends should speak the truth, he chided me gently. You needed Guinevere, I said, embarrassed to be speaking thus, and you were meant to be with her, else why would the gods have brought her to the feasting hall on the night of your betrothal? It isn't for us, Lord, to read the minds of gods, just to live our fate fully. You think we should all rush madly down the paths of destiny? I think, Lord, that when fate grips you, you do well to put reason aside. And I did, he said quietly, then smiled at me. I often think that with Arthur, or with Arthur's story, the idea of having to follow your own destiny must put like an incredible weight on a person. I can imagine it being like comforting in the sense that you've got like a level of certainty there, like you've got a path that has been chosen for you and therefore you know what you must do. But at the same time, like, the idea that you might not live up to that destiny or fail to achieve it must be absolutely barbaric. Like, I get scared when I fail to get an A on an assignment, and that's because I've been told to get an A on an assignment. So like, if I was to be in Arthur's shoes where I'm supposed to like bring, you know, England to its glory, screw that, man. I would be having panic attacks daily. So this man is honestly, go him. But also, he goes on to talk about the gods and sort of how they accompany this, and the idea that, particularly in like stories of destiny and Arthur's in particular, it's almost like they're the gods' playthings. I am to yield Britain back to her gods, Arthur said, mocking the duty by the tone of his voice. But what the gods want, Derful, I do not know. If they want Britain, why do they need me? Or Merlin, do gods need men? Or are we like dogs barking for masters who don't want to listen? We aren't dogs, I said. We're the creatures of the gods. They must have a purpose for us. Must they? Maybe we just make them laugh. I think those 2 pages and those 2 passages have really stood out to me because, like I say, Arthur's story is one of destiny, and as is Merlin's in a lot of adaptations. I think Arthur's supposed to sort of just be a even more normal human in this. Like, he's not, you know, the rightful heir to the throne. He's not the king, like, of Camelot. He's not Uther's one and true son. He is simply a man who is believed to be destined for great things, but that doesn't necessarily mean he's going to get those things. It's just something he's believed to achieve, and dealing with that weight is really interesting in this book, I think. I'm not really connected with Arthur's character, but the more I think about it, like, I actually just feel a bit bad for him. Poor guy. He's struggling out here, and Merlin's not helping. Though, do I really just want to go back to reading my Merthyr fanfiction? Low-key, yes.
Okay.
Okay, I think simply for the sake of my sanity, I'm gonna put The Winter King down for a minute. If I keep going with where I'm at right now, I think I'm gonna drop. And obviously the whole point of this is not necessarily to like stay awake for the whole 24 hours, because I actually think I'd go insane. And, you know, like, it's a video that I'm gonna enjoy doing, and if that means I have to like sleep deprive myself, then I'm not gonna enjoy it. So the whole point of this is how many books I can read, or how much I can read within like a 24-hour time slot. If that means that I sacrifice some hours for sleep, that's a tactical decision I'm gonna have to decide. And I will set an alarm that will hopefully allow me to wake up. However, that being said, I'm going to try and speed run Nietzsche as a bit of goofy little fun and see how that goes. Just so that I can feel a little sense of accomplishment right now. Because I don't want this to be a cop-out of like, oh, I stayed up for 24 hours. I'm not going to stay up for 24 hours. It's just how much I can read in 24 hours. That being said, I am going to try and sleep as little as possible within 24 hours. Because I do want to try and read as much as possible. Do you see what I'm saying? I hope you see what I'm saying. It's my first ever thing that I'm going to have read by Nietzsche, so it's interesting. And also I just love how low-key narcissistic that title is. So I'm locked. I'm gonna go get that read now. And I'll probably see you at the end of that, because no doubt it will take me a short period of time, fingers crossed. She says with a lot of hope.
2 hours later.
So these are 1 a.m. musings on Nietzsche and the Winter King. So obviously I've put down the Winter King now, but Nietzsche is going on about reaction as like a good thing. Requital is obviously the returning of like a favour, and to Nietzsche he's saying that it's an opportunity of expressing my thanks to the offender, quote unquote. Silence is an objection. Swallowing down necessarily produces a bad character. It even ruins the stomach. I think this is really interesting, the idea of silence not necessarily always being a good thing, and that it not only harms you, but it also harms the other person, because people learn from conversing and people learn from reactions and how other people perceive them. So if you choose to hide how you feel towards another person, no matter if that is a good or a bad thing, you're ultimately harming both you and the other person because you're not allowing them room to improve or consider your opinions, and you're not allowing yourself to express, and you're bottling things up. So that's an interesting point, and I approve very much of that, Mr. Nietzsche. Go off. I really hope I'm pronouncing his name right, because if I'm pronouncing that wrong, it's going to be really embarrassing for this whole video. This whole section where I'm trying to give intellectual musings on Nietzsche is probably going to be really embarrassing when I look back on it during editing. I'm like, what was I thinking? I'm being smart here. I will be embarrassed, but you know, I'm going to leave it in, because who knows, maybe I'm sparing something interesting. The next part that he speaks about is interesting in response to the Winter King and sort of the conversation I've sort of been having about that. If one is rich enough, it is even fortunate to be in the wrong. A god come to earth ought to do nothing whatever but wrong, to take upon oneself not the punishment but the guilt, only that would be godlike. This is really interesting, because the point that I've just read up to in The Winter King, Arthur has attempted to regain like an ally by offering to pay them for the peace, and the opposing party has basically said, no, like, my men want war and we want land and we want to fight. I'm sick of this peace lark, it's a bit boring, isn't it? Arthur's like, okay, I'll offer you this piece of land. I've got someone here who can help you. I've brought them along. So he was like aware that this gold was not going to be enough to satisfy this need. In doing so, he offers up like the lives of like hundreds of his people, and this weighs on Arthur like terribly. He knows that ultimately he needs this allyship, or he needs to remove this allyship from the enemy. But in doing so, he's literally killing like hundreds of women, hundreds of men, hundreds of children, and he says, I'm breaking families apart. But no one punishes him for this. No one says, you know, that's a bad decision. Rather, they just see it like, oh, well, you know, things happen in war, whatever. But Arthur doesn't see it this way. Arthur still sees it for what it is. It's the death of hundreds. And he offers himself up as punishment. He says, I will trade my life to try and stop this. And Durfal's like, you know, that's a dumb idea. And Merlin would think that's a dumb idea. Like, that's a dumb idea. This idea of punishment are not what is necessary in this moment for Arthur's character, but rather it is the guilt that he takes upon himself that is really, really important and integral to his character. And I just think this sort of comes with like Nietzsche's idea of punishment not necessarily being the right form of retribution, but rather guilt is. That guilt is like the most important thing a person can feel, as it not only shows us how humane we are, I think it hurts us more, I suppose. I don't know, but I also think it's a really interesting conversation that introduces the idea of Arthur as like almost a god. I suppose because it's like labelled as Arthurian legend, there's some level of godliness that surrounds Arthur and this Arthur character in history. Like, we don't even know if he existed, but we look to him for guidance. We look to him as like a figure of chivalry and not necessarily perfection, but you know, something we should look up to and idolize, almost like a god. I think that's really interesting, and perhaps it is that he is so conscious of like the impacts of his own actions, as shown particularly in this Bernard Cornwell adaptation, that should be honoured and should be idolised, I suppose. I don't know. 1am brain musings, I suppose. Again, I'm probably going to look at this and be like, what's she on about? Hopefully it comes out to amount to something. If not, at least subscribe and like. That's what I'm supposed to say, innit? At some point in this video. We're almost at 50 subscribers as I record this. If we hit 50, that'd be pretty damn cool, I can't lie. Thanks guys for everyone that has subscribed. Wow, I'm literally like a YouTuber now.
A few moments later.
And as we hit the 4-hour mark, we see that not only have I finished Nietzsche, but also I have migrated to my bed. Very dangerously so. But I am here because it's cold in my room. But nonetheless, I finished Nietzsche. Maybe I'm too tired to go off, I guess. Like, he's a very humble man, isn't he, that Nietzsche?
Bombastic side eye.
No, there was an interesting concept of contentment with what you are is what you are. Perhaps something that I should look into adopting on my own accord. I am looking at the words, and I can't actually see. Right now it is 4 minutes past 2. Maybe a cheeky, like, hour nap, and then I shall resume to reading. Yay! Right, I'll check back with you, hopefully after a little cheeky nap. Only a little one though, promise. Good morning. Here's 2 things. I slept for about an hour and a half, and then I woke up and I recorded this, but I did the thing where I recorded it in the wrong orientation again, and I've only just realised. So my bad. So I've been reading for about 2 hours. It's been very slow. I've been fighting for my life. but I've started to carry on reading Killing Jericho, and I'm now on chapter like 18, so I'm on 124 and I started on page 69. So you do the maths, because I'm too tired. Like something like 55 pages, which is, I'm a slow reader, but like that's slow. That's embarrassingly slow. So I'm gonna go and make myself some coffee, I think, get out of the actual bed itself, because it's making me want to fall back asleep. Okay, so I'm literally 4 minutes from the 9-hour mark. I have officially hit the 100-page mark on Killing Jericho. Well, like the 100 pages since I started. Like I'm on page 169. And apart from like Sherlock Holmes, and I think I have like a distant memory of like starting and getting like halfway through the ABC Murders by Agatha Christie while I was in secondary school. Apart from that, I don't think I've actually read any like mystery fiction. Like, this is off the top of my head and my sleep-deprived brain. But I wouldn't say that, like, anything that I've read really is mystery, like, you know, detective fiction. That being said, this is really good, and I'm, like, really, really enjoying this. If you've seen the podcast, you'll have seen me talk about William Hussey loads, but it's, like, fun reading, like, an adult version of William Hussey, because obviously when I read him I was a teenager and his books were marketed more towards teenagers. I wouldn't say that this is. I actually think it's quite dark sometimes, that it's almost barbarically unsettling to me. But this is really bloody good. I actually have not a single clue to the answer yet. I have suspicions of characters, but nothing that isn't sort of being put there by the book. I don't really know who or what I'm gonna have to blame. I also don't know where this is going, but I know there's supposed to be more than one book. So I know that this story is going to carry on beyond what's going on here. And I just really don't know where it's going to go. I'm a bit enthralled by it, to be honest. I really have no clue. I do actually really want to read Death and the Penguin. Bought this book ages ago. I bought this book around the time when I read Train Dreams for the first time. I actually genuinely know nothing about this book. I just thought, oh, it's about a penguin and the mafia, and that's quite funny. So I actually think I might add that to the list and read that. Maybe I'll read that instead of Stoner, because I want to like fully immerse myself in Stoner, because I know that book's probably going to be my next personality trait. I'm going to do a bit more of Killing Jericho, because I'm not quite fed up of it yet. I do really want to try and finish The Winter King before I finish this video. So that's my, honestly, if I can do this 24 hours and finish The Winter King within this 24-hour like window I'm giving myself, I'll be proud of myself. It's 5 minutes to 7. I think I'm going to get some breakfast at like 7:30. I'm at least going to try and wait till sun up. Got nothing really exciting to say. This book is just, I've literally got nothing to say about it. It's just intriguing, and I just genuinely have no clue where it's going to go. And I actually am enjoying the characters, which is fun for me. There's also a bit of romance.
A few inches later.
Okay, so first light is finally starting to seep through my windows, and shockingly, I can actually hear some birds. 7:30 now, so I'm going to go get some breakfast. I've reached the 200-page mark, which means I've got 146 pages left, which is good. That's good going. My romance is blossoming, which is lovely. I love to see it. Oof, bloody hell. I look shattered. Lovely. That's how I'm feeling. Got my morning cuppa. Gonna drink my lovely cup of tea. I'm not one of those people that can eat and read, so I'm not going to pretend that I'm going to do that, because I don't understand how people do that. I don't have the concentration or the ability, so I'm probably going to give myself a little bit of a break. I did, however, listen to like a song from Baldur's Gate while I was making my breakfast, and now I really want to play Baldur's Gate. So guys, while I was reading The Winter King, I was like, oh, I could really love playing some Skyrim right now. But no, we're doing this 24 hours of reading. It's 8:47 and I've just had like 5 minutes of TikTok time, because I'm really struggling to like settle back into reading after eating breakfast, and just got absolutely bombarded with 7 depressing Merlin edits and then like 4 depressing Dead Poets Society edits, and I just you know what, I'm sick of being in depressing fandoms. And I think I got like 2 house edits. of like Wilson and House. And I'm so sick of just liking things that are so sad. Just wanted a break. Just wanted 5 minutes. You know, my romance is getting ruined in bloody killing Jericho. I was like, oh, 5 minutes, you know, I'll just bloody relax. And then I go onto TikTok and just get bombarded with the most heart-wrenching edits I've ever seen in my entire life. I was waiting for like a depressing like Lord of the Rings one to come up. Luckily I didn't. I got like the Oopie Goopy meme, which was pretty funny actually. I rated that, but Jesus. 12-hour mark. I've hit it. We're halfway through. I'm almost at the end of the book. That means I'm going to be getting some answers soon, which is exciting. So I'll see you in like another like hour or 2 or 3. We'll see, won't we? However long it takes me to read this book and finish it. That's when I'll see you next, when I've finished the book.
One eternity later.
I have so much to say, but I think I'm just going to go with William Hussey, you crazy little man. I've not finished the book yet, but I'm having to take a minute. It was just not what I was expecting. I'm in shock. I've never responded to a plot twist like this before. Like, I actually didn't see that coming. I have nothing, like, I literally can't say anything because spoilers, but that alone, go read this book. Go and read this book, because that has actually, like, gagged me. I'm gagged. I'm actually a bit sad about it, actually. I just need to process this. So I've officially finished it. It's been years since I've read, like, Haunted, and I really want to reread it. But I do remember as a kid getting to, like, the end of that book, literally, like, zooming through those last few pages because the ending was so interesting. So if there's anything William Hussey can do, it is a good ending. And my God, did he eat that up? 4 out of 5 stars. Really bloody loved that. Great book. Fun time. I really liked the relationship between Scott and Garrus. Like, at the start, it really reminded me of Connor and Hank from Detroit Become Human. So it was, like, really interesting watching that sort of carry out alongside the plot. Truly a good book. It was a very fun and interesting read. Not light, because I am mildly disturbed by the images I got from it, but an interesting read nonetheless. It's like one of those books, because it being a mystery book, really hard to talk about it without giving spoilers, and I really don't want to, because I want you guys to go read it. I recommend it. Go read it. And now I'm gonna go and carry on The Winter King. It is currently 11 minutes past 12. I did at some point, like, following the 12-hour mark, have a break and do some errands around the house and do a bit of editing. So I'm now at the 14-hour mark. And I've finished that book. So now to move on to the next one. I've still got 10 more hours. So I'll definitely be able to finish The Winter King. And maybe I'll pick up something shorter and just read that for the next few hours. But we'll see. I'm not too bothered. I'm quite proud. Roughly I'll have finished 3 books by the end of this. Definitely I'll have finished at least 3 books. Which is pretty good going. I'll take that. 3 books in the space of like a day, and I've not really been reading consistently. I'll take it. Okay, I've made myself more presentable. I'm starting to feel what I was worried about, which is I'm getting fed up. I mean, the sun's shining, like I would love to go for a walk. Alternatively, I really do just want to sit and play on my PlayStation. And I feel like The Winter King is not helping because it's making me want to play Skyrim and Baldur's Gate even more. But it's fine. I'm determined to finish it and I'm excited about it. So I don't know why I'm just like malfunctioning all of a sudden. It is 12:30, so I'm halfway, well, way over halfway. I've got like 8 hours left. I don't know, actually. I can't see my timer right now. My computer's on a lock screen. Hold on. I've still got 10 hours left. Never mind. I'm a liar. Got 10 hours left. Well, 11 and a half. Shouldn't be much longer.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
I swear to God. I swear to God. I finished it. I finished it. Finally. It's taken me like way too long, but I finished it. Oh, that was so good. And I can't, oh my God, I can't wait to read the second one. Honestly, if you ever read The Winter King, Listen to the Narnia soundtracks, like from all 3 movies. Listen to the Merlin soundtrack, and it will change your life. Oh my god, that was so good. That was so good. Can't wait to read the second one. I'm so excited, and it's going to be forever until I read it. But oh my gosh, go and read a bit of dad fiction, as Oliver calls it. It was so good. Like, I'm actually blown away by how good that was. Maybe it's because I could see it in my mind. Maybe it's because I had the epic soundtracks going on in the background. I don't know. But that has really scratched an itch in my brain. It was absolutely epic. Like, yeah, there were moments where I was like... But, like, when I look back on that journey... It was so good. Like, even those moments of downtime are important to the story. And I'm in love with Galahad. I thought he died at one point, and I got really scared. He's my Finnan of the Winter King universe. So it's now 4 o'clock, so which means I'm 18 hours in. So I've got like 6 hours left. I don't know what I'm going to read now. I think I need to process. Because, like, I have just moved on from, like, one book with a banging ending to another book with a banging ending. I'm, like, overwhelmed a little bit, I feel. I've decided to read... Dun 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 dun! Death of the Penguin. I'm actually so excited for this. A chilling black comedy. Hopefully... hopefully the comedy will make me laugh. I'm so excited for this, so... Let's go! As you can see, I've only got like 4 hours left. Thank God. I'm reading this now and I can like actually hear buzzing in my ears and I can feel like I'm ready to fall asleep. However, this book is making me want to watch Mr. Popper's Penguins, so that might be something I have to do while I go to sleep. And also, I want a pet penguin so bad now. Like, so badly. He's so cute. He's just waddling about, minding his own business. The premise of the book is that he's a obituary writer and the people that he's writing obituaries about are like being murdered by the mafia. I think that's what's going on. But honestly, I have so many questions. We've just been told that the penguin has depression.
My Shayla!
He just stands there in his little hidey hole and it's because he's got depression. I feel so emotionally attached to this penguin.
2,000 years later.
Okay, if you can't tell from how I look right now, I fell asleep. I've got almost an hour left, an hour and like 7 minutes. And this book did make me fall asleep. I can't lie, I've not been asleep for long, maybe like an hour. I'm actually really enjoying it. It's just like... How do I explain this? It feels cold and lonely, but in like a warming way. Almost like sitting alone at a fireplace on a winter night. Or maybe you're not necessarily alone, but you're sat with someone and you're not talking to each other, you're just within each other's company. That's how this book feels. It is a bit found family from what I'm reading so far. Not a lot has happened, but I am only like... How many pages? Oh, 100 pages in. I made it 100 pages before I fell asleep. And I stand by the fact that I want a pet penguin. But also I just feel a bit bad for all the characters. It's quite difficult. Like, I can't really say I've connected with the characters because from what I've read so far, I've not really learned anything about any of the characters. In fact, there's so many questions that are just completely unanswered. But I think that's almost what it's doing. You're just sort of popping into someone's life, like in this situation where they don't really have any answers. I guess sort of rolling with it. Like, there's sort of a level of like surreal absurdism to it. Like, okay, this guy has a pet penguin that he just got from the zoo, no questions asked. And then he got a job writing obituaries that are like now deciding who dies. It's so like sure of itself, like it doesn't give any answers and you almost feel like in the position of Victor. I am so tired, I'm so ready to sleep. Honestly, I've got this 1 hour left. "24 hours. Honestly, the last 24 hours, I feel like it all happened like within 2 minutes. I barely remember any of it. Before we like do a full close off, I'll just talk a little bit more about this because obviously I got through another like 55 pages or so. Chapter 56 in particular really reminded me of Spy X Family. Isha reminds me of Bond, so potentially that's why as well. I went into this book literally knowing nothing, and it is not what I anticipated it to be honest. I thought it was going to be a lot more lighthearted than this, but actually I'm like sad and quite cold. But I actually think that it's been a pretty successful 24 hours. I mean, I've managed to read 3 books completely, get more than halfway through this one. We start off with The Winter King, and I'm so glad that I got that finished, and I'm so glad that it ended as good as it did. I'm like, I normally hate endings of books, especially when they're series, especially with the first book. It's always a bit of a cop-out, but no, it was quite a satisfying ending, but also like open-ending enough that you can see that it can carry on further. And same with Killing Jericho, actually. I know that the second book came out, I think, February last year, so I'll have to try and see if I can scour that out. It's definitely reignited my love for William Hussey, and The Winter King has reignited my love for fantasy and medieval fiction, I suppose, like old historical fiction. I want to find more books and maybe series that focus on like that era of history. So if anyone knows any, let me know. If you know any good ones, let me know. I absolutely do recommend The Winter King though, if you have the patience, and the same with Killing Jericho. I don't think that requires as much patience, but that's quite an easy read, to be honest, and it keeps you on your edge of your seat. Like, I couldn't actually, normally I'm a person that guesses like who the twist villain is, or if there's going to be someone that betrays you, or who is the person that's been the murderer the whole time. Normally I'm really good at guessing that, like it used to ruin movies and stuff for me, but I actually didn't with that book, and I'm still not slightly over it. Like, I suppose, especially since like I just sort of went on to the next book, I'm like still like thinking about it and being like, oh, that was not the reveal I expected. It was wild. That was a wild reveal to me. Nietzsche was interesting. I actually don't really remember Nietzsche. That feels so long ago now. Like, he had some interesting points and I really liked some areas of his philosophy, but also like the whole time with him just being like, yeah, I'm so cool.
That's my opinion!
I was like, I know I should have known going into this, considering the fact it's called Why I'm So Clever, but I genuinely was not expecting that much of blowing your own trumpet. But I respect it. I actually aspire, if I'm ever a writer, to be that level of like, yeah, my books are the best, as they should be. I hope to aspire to that and bring that into so many other areas of my life. Thank you so much for watching this video if you made it this far. It was a fun time and I really enjoyed it, and it was something to do to ensure that I actually did a bit more reading this year, and it was a great time. Can't wait though to have a sleep and wake up tomorrow and go back to my normally daily routine. But yeah, thank you so much for making it this far, and I'll see you in the next video, I suppose. And don't forget to like and subscribe and all that YouTuber stuff.